So the way I will solve this, okay, let the forces be F1 and F2. So they say if they act at an angle 90, remember, if it's angle 90, the resultant is just 10, root 10. So have root 10 equals F1 squared plus F2 squared, all in square root. So which implies that 10 is just F1 squared plus F2 squared. So that's the first equation, equation 1. Again, they said if they act at an angle 60 degrees, their resultant is root 13. So we have root 13 equals square root F1 squared plus F2 squared plus 2 F1 F2 cos 60 degrees. So we have that this is equal to, so you know that square root, so we have 13 F1 squared plus F2 squared. Cos 60 is half, so half, so we are left with F2. You get cos 60 is half, so 2 times half is 1. So this is the second equation, but they thought we've gotten that F1 squared plus F2 squared is 10. So this is 13 equals 10 plus F1 F2. So you see that F1 times F2 is now 13 minus 10 is 3. So with that, this is the second equation. But there is one identity. So from elementary identity, there is an identity that states that that's addition of 2 squared, that F1 squared plus F2 squared has two formula. It's an identity that is F1 plus F2 all squared minus 2 F1 times F2, or F1 minus F2 all squared plus 2 F1 times F2. So these two formula is very important. So we now see that in this, if we make this the subject of formula in the first equation, you see that F1 plus F2, do you get, making it the subject of formula is the same thing as square root F1 squared plus F2 squared. This one goes over plus F2 F1 times F2. So I made F1 plus F2 the subject of formula. That's this equals that. And the second one, okay, let's just solve this first. So we have F1 squared plus F2 squared is already 10 plus 2. And F1 times F2 is 3. So this is square root of 16. Square root of 16 is 4. So again, if you now do making F1 minus F2 the subject of formula, that's is now square root F1 squared plus F2 squared minus 2F1 F2. So the same way, it's now square root of this 10, because F1 squared plus F2 squared is 10 minus 2 times this is 3. So this is 6. 10 minus 6 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. Gotten that F1 plus F2 is 4 and F1 minus F2 is 2. So solving this for let's go equation 3 and 4. Solving this simultaneously. So let's by elimination. Implies that F1 plus F1 is 2F1 equals this plus this is 0. 4 plus 2 is 6. Therefore, F1 is 3. The same way, subtracting equation, if you do equation 3 minus 4, implies that F1 minus F1 is 0. F2 minus F2 is 2F2. 4 minus 2 is 2, which implies that F2 is 1. So the forces are 3 Newton and 1 Newton. So that's the answer.